Ilia Topuria vows to obliterate Charles Oliveira in the first round, claiming he's superior in striking, grappling, and power.
What does he?
I feel that I have the advantage in everything. This is what I truly believe. Me personally, I would ask him like, what's your favorite submission? Whatever. Dark show. I'm gonna submit you with that.
This is a guy that's trained and coached by Khabib.
I will submit him closer to Khabib. Khabib used to take people, take them down and talk to Dana. Dana. I would do it to Khabib. Like, I will take him, but...
And then talk to Khabib.
Talk to Khabib.
What would you tell him?
No, I wouldn't like...
Ilia Topuria didn't hold back ahead of UFC 317 when he boldly declared he'll finish Charles Oliveira in the very first round, either by knockout or submission. His confidence is sky high, and he's not shying away from making his intentions known to the world. With a prediction that has fans buzzing, Topuria believes the fight will be over shortly after it begins, claiming he won't even need to close the distance because Oliveira's aggressive, walk-forward style will bring them face-to-face right away.
People think of you in the UFC as a knockout artist, but before you came to the UFC, you were a submission threat, right? Obviously, we think about Charles' submission skills. Is this your power against his submission skills? Do you feel like maybe this is a matchup where you can prove, hey, I'm a great grappler too?
To be honest, I feel that I have the advantage in the grappling game also. I feel and I know that I'm better than him even in the ground game. So we'll see how the fight will go, because if I have to submit him, I have all the abilities to do that also. So we'll see. I can knock him out, I can submit him, whatever. The only thing I know for sure is that I'm gonna knock him out in the first round or submit him in the first round, because he walks forward. I'm not gonna need to close the distance with him. Since the first moment, we are gonna find each other in the center of the octagon, so yeah.
Topuria steps into UFC 317, not just as an undefeated phenom, but as a former featherweight champion who voluntarily gave up his 145-pound title to chase greatness in a second weight class. Now competing at lightweight, Topuria is aiming to become a rare two-division UFC champion. His lightweight debut couldn't come at a more high-stakes moment, as he prepares to battle former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira for the vacant 155-pound belt in the main event of International Fight Week in Las Vegas.
I challenge him. Like,
yeah.
we can do only separate like a boxing match, a grappling match, a wrestling match. Everywhere I beat him, everywhere, however I want. This is how confident I feel.
The lightweight title is currently up for grabs because Islam Makhachev, the previous champion, has moved up to welterweight. Makhachev, who had 4 successful title defenses at 155 pounds, now has his sights set on Jack Della Maddalena and the welterweight strap. With that vacancy, the UFC wasted no time lining up an electrifying showdown between Oliveira and Topuria. Topuria arrives at this fight off 2 historic knockouts against elite competition. First, he stunned the MMA world by stopping Alexander Volkanovski, arguably one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Then he followed that up with a knockout win over Max Holloway, another legend in the division. That back-to-back dominance paved the way for his jump to lightweight, and he carries that momentum into the octagon with full belief that he can take out Oliveira without needing the judges.
Ilia, if you look at Charles's most famous fights, right? Dustin, Gaethje, the 2 Chandler fights, he gets dropped in each fight. But he comes back and he wins those fights.
If I hurt him, he's not gonna have the chance to come back. Because my power is completely different than the other guys you mentioned before.
What makes Topuria even more dangerous is his versatility. While he started his MMA journey with 7 straight submission wins, he has steadily sharpened his striking, transforming into a well-rounded finisher. He credits his background in Greco-Roman wrestling for his confidence on the ground, claiming he not only matches but surpasses Oliveira's legendary submission game. Though Oliveira holds the record for the most submissions in UFC history, Topuria is convinced he can beat him in grappling exchanges just as confidently as he can on the feet.
It's not like records, it's not like age. My opinion, it's I go to the gym and I told her the all kids want to show something to me.
Yeah.
And when I understand I cannot stop the people, I cannot like compete with the
younger guys.
young guys, and I'm thinking.
Meanwhile, Oliveira enters the octagon as a man on a mission to reclaim his throne. He last fought at UFC 309 in November, securing a unanimous decision win over Michael Chandler. Known for his slick jiu-jitsu and unrelenting pressure, Oliveira has proven time and again that he can survive the fire and finish the fight. He holds an incredible 20 finishes in his 23 UFC wins. In fact, no one has submitted more opponents in the UFC than the Brazilian veteran, and his durability and explosiveness have made him a fan favorite.
What are your thoughts on Ilia Topuria and Ilia Topuria the fighter? How do you feel about just the overall fight?
É uma grande luta. Ele é um grande lutador, mas eu não preciso provar mais nada pra ninguém. Quem eu sou, o que eu já fiz, né, que vai dentro do cage. Essa luta chegou numa oportunidade gigantesca. Eu vou nocautear esse cara. Essa é ela.
He's gonna knock this guy out.
Still, Topuria is unshaken by his opponent's resume. He's not impressed by Oliveira's experience or accolades, and went as far as to challenge him in every area of MMA, striking, wrestling, grappling, stating that no matter the scenario, he sees himself coming out on top. When Oliveira suggested he might have the power edge in this matchup, Topuria dismissed it as hopeful thinking. Despite Oliveira once being labeled the hardest hitter Justin Gaethje had ever faced, Topuria wasn't swayed. He believes his own punching power will be the deciding factor if it becomes a striking battle.
Bueno, en primer lugar agradecerle a Charles, la verdad, por haber aceptado el reto, ¿no? Algo que Islam no hizo y tiene que pagar el precio por Islam. Me da mucha pena por Charles, pero bueno, al final del día es mi trabajo. Voy a cumplir otro sueño más que siempre tuve, que era convertirme en campeón de otra división más, por lo que el resultado será el mismo de siempre, salir victorioso y seguir con el invicto.
Topuria doesn't buy the narrative that he's too small for lightweight. He clarified that although he's not the tallest fighter, his frame and weight make him more than capable of competing at 155 pounds. In fact, he claims he'll likely be heavier than Oliveira on fight night after rehydration. One of the key reasons he moved up from featherweight, he revealed, was because cutting to 145 pounds was becoming unbearable. At lightweight, he feels stronger and more explosive, with no energy depletion from brutal weight cuts.
A 3-weight world champion. Yeah, this is my goal. Yeah, you're not gonna see me in the welterweight division like this, skinny. You're gonna see me different. Yeah, that's the goal. More up to the lightweight division, get that belt, and then more up to the welterweight division.
As fight night approaches, pros are split. On one side is Topuria, the undefeated knockout artist with a relentless drive to dominate every aspect of the fight. On the other is Oliveira, the calm veteran with unmatched submission skills and the experience of battling through adversity time and time again. Among the more direct takes was that of Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, who didn't shy away from pointing to a pattern in Oliveira's recent performances. He emphasized that Oliveira has not only been hurt but dropped in several of his past fights. To Johnson, this recurring vulnerability is exactly why Topuria is favored, and he believes the undefeated contender won't just hurt Oliveira but will stop him definitively, similar to how Islam Makhachev did.
I'm gonna go with Ilia Topuria. The reason why is because when you look at Charles Oliveira's last couple of fights, you know, when he fought Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, you know, Michael Chandler even, he's been hurt in every single one of those fights. Yeah. He gets dropped and he goes to his back. And then a lot of those guys, even Islam hurt him on the feet. And a lot of those guys don't follow him to the ground. They allow him to get back up and he gets back in a gunfight and then he's able to put those guys out. Now, I am betting on that Ilia Topuria is going to hurt him, and when he does hurt him, he's going to fall into the ground and try to finish him like Islam did.
Anthony Smith offered a more technical breakdown, zeroing in on Oliveira's defensive lapses. For Smith, the biggest factor isn't just about who hits harder, but about how Oliveira absorbs damage. He highlighted the Brazilian's habit of diving into chaotic exchanges, often leaving himself exposed. In contrast, Smith praised Topuria's poise and structure, pointing to his sharp boxing, body shots, and disciplined footwork as major advantages. According to him, Topuria's measured style gives him the edge if the fight stays upright.
I typically look at, when you get two guys like these two that are very, very good, then you start looking at their defensive responsibilities and who has the larger deficiency. That's 100% Charles Oliveira. He's so hittable. Yeah. He loves to fight into wars. Ilia Topuria does not engage in bullshit. He's super crisp, very, very clean boxer, but goes to the body well, leg kicks really well, so strategic and so well thought out, and has an incredibly high fight IQ. I just don't know how Charles Oliveira stays safe in any kind of striking range, fighting the way that he fights with Ilia Topuria. I just think that he's going to get hit hard. He's going to get hurt. And I don't know that he can take down Ilia Topuria. And if he did, I don't know that he would out-grapple him anymore.
Dustin Poirier also weighed in, leaning toward Topuria for similar reasons. He recognized Oliveira's submission threat, but emphasized his susceptibility to strikes. Poirier argued that Oliveira's tendency to take clean shots has always been a weakness, and when facing someone like Topuria, who finishes with intent and precision, that flaw could be catastrophic. To Poirier, Topuria's killer instinct is what sets him apart.
I think Ilia, man. I think he's going to be way undersized against Charles. I just don't, unless Charles can sub him, maybe if he hurts him, but it's going to be tough, I think. Because Charles gets hit a lot, you know, and Ilia puts people away. I'm excited about it.
Meanwhile, Michael Chandler brought a more personal take. Having fought Oliveira twice, he warned against underestimating the former champion's grit and durability. Chandler pointed out that Oliveira often performs better under pressure, using wild moments to his advantage. He acknowledged Topuria's timing and calm demeanor, but made it clear that Oliveira is no easy man to finish, suggesting Topuria may be in for a rude awakening in his first high-stakes fight at lightweight.
Lightweight division is being turned on its head. Islam Makhachev vacated. He's going to welterweight. We have a title fight pretty much a month away exactly right now for the vacant belt between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira. I guess, are you surprised this is the way everything played out, from Islam not keeping the belt and it being like an interim or something to the fight we ultimately got for the vacant title?
No, I'm not surprised. You know, and I think maybe some of those rumors and stuff maybe played into my decision on why I wanted to fight Paddy, why I wanted to get back in there. Obviously, if you look at the timing, I should have had a win against Oliveira. I messed that up. I should have had a win against Paddy. I messed that up. I've had these great opportunities and they've just slipped through my fingertips. So if I would have beat Charles, I would be fighting Ilia for the title right now, you know, but this is the way the sport goes. I'm not surprised at all the craziness that's happening. I'm happy Ilia came up to 155. I'm happy Max is at 155. You got Poirier. Shoot, you got Poirier leaving the sport here in the next 6 weeks or whatever it is, which is crazy. You got Gaethje, you got Paddy. There's a bunch of different stuff going on. So I'll be cage side for that fight to watch it, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, who do you think is going to win?
Man, it's tough. You don't bet against freaking Charles Oliveira because he's so dang good everywhere, and he's a really hard guy to beat. With that being said, Ilia Topuria's got some crazy power in his hands and crazy accurate strikes. So it'll be very interesting to see how that fight goes.
Looking beyond the individual matchup, Luke Thomas took a broader view. He framed the fight as a moment of transition within the UFC, especially with Islam Makhachev's move to welterweight shaking up the landscape. While fans had clamored for a Topuria versus Makhachev showdown, Thomas believed the Oliveira fight was just as compelling. He saw the stylistic clash, Oliveira's wild, high-risk offense against Topuria's precision and explosiveness, as a reflection of shifting trends in how elite fighters approach the game.
The number one fight that could have been made among all permutations was Islam Ilia. That's the best fight that could have been made. But the point I've been trying to make is that while that would be the most desirable one to choose, it's not like you're getting something bad even though you're not getting it. In other words, Topuria against Oliveira for the lightweight belt is fire. I don't care what anybody else says, it's fire. And then I've been saying this whole time, Islam going up to 170 and seeing how he matches up there with De La Maddalena, potentially Brady, potentially Rachmanov, potentially Gary, potentially Buckley. I mean, any number of ways in which that could go.
Kamaru Usman threw his support behind Topuria, citing the confidence and dominance the Georgian-Spanish fighter has shown throughout his rise. Usman was particularly impressed by Topuria's wins over Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, stating that such victories cement his right to feel as confident as he does heading into UFC 317. For Usman, Topuria's momentum and fearless mindset are difficult to bet against.
He does not care. And he believes in that conviction so much to where, hey, put up Conor, I'll put him to sleep. Put up Charles Oliveira, I'll put him to sleep. Put up Islam, I'll put him to sleep. Like, he has that conviction. And hey, he's told us that twice now in these world title fights. And what did everyone do? Everyone went, I don't know. Volkanovski is a beast. You can't do that. He went out there, and he did it. And then he goes, give me Max Holloway. And we're like, oh, I don't know. Max Holloway, the best boxer in the UFC. I don't know if you could do that.
Beneil Dariush, who has also shared the cage with Oliveira, offered insight into how the Brazilian could derail Topuria's game. Dariush pointed out Oliveira's intensity in the early rounds, his forward pressure, clinch work, and unpredictable bursts, which can throw off opponents before they find their rhythm. He suggested that this chaotic tempo might disrupt Topuria's clean, timing-based approach and prevent him from establishing control.
I think Charles is really tough. I think he's got a good chin, he's got good jiu-jitsu, he's got great striking, and what's going to be difficult for Ilia is Charles's striking is, I think, really dangerous against boxers, against good boxers. The way he throws his knees, the way he clinches, and those are things you can do to slow down Ilia. Because, for example, a good boxer will dip low to fake or feint to go get in on the inside, and that's times where Charles will just raise his knee and mess with your timing, or throw a kick, things like that. So I think the fight's a lot closer. I understand why people are favoring Ilia, and I think if you had to ask me, I probably would favor him as well, but I don't think it's going to be like, oh, he's going to walk through Charles like everybody thinks.
Tim Welch echoed those concerns, bringing attention to the challenge of transitioning to a new division. Though he acknowledged Topuria's rise at featherweight has been spectacular, Welch questioned whether the move to lightweight came too quickly. He also noted Oliveira's awkward stance, range control, and use of knees as tools that could complicate matters for Topuria. Welch believes Oliveira's unpredictability could frustrate the more compact, boxing-heavy style Topuria favors, especially against opponents with more physicality and size.
And there's that blockbuster fight with Islam or even JDM, and then, hey man, I can still go up to 185, and if Dricus is there or Hamzat's there, that's there as well. You stood on business in there tonight, and I love that.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Islam, JDM, that's the only thing next. To be honest, it's about business. I'm the biggest in the division, and hey, we're looking to do big business here. Brady's already said he kind of not interested in that fight, so it is what it is. We're looking at Islam, JDM.
Mateus Gamrot also leaned in Oliveira's favor, emphasizing experience and size as crucial. Having faced elite lightweights himself, Gamrot underlined that Oliveira has proven his mettle repeatedly in wars with the division's best. In contrast, he noted that Topuria's only previous lightweight fight came against Jai Herbert, a fight in which Topuria was visibly hurt, raising questions about how he'll handle a seasoned contender like Oliveira over 5 rounds.
Next month, the lightweight championship is on the line. Ilia and Charles, who do you have?
Very interesting matchup. Both guys has power and skills to get the win this fight. Like Ilia can knock him out, the Oliveira. He has heavy hands for sure. But also Charles Oliveira has a lot of good tools to beat Ilia in the ground, in the feet, everywhere. But I think Oliveira is really big guy. Ilia is short guy, and I think this is gonna be much different than the both guys. And I think that this is gonna be advantage for Charles Oliveira, and he can win.
Sean O'Malley offered a more balanced assessment, calling the fight a toss-up depending on how each fighter executes their game. While he acknowledged Oliveira's ability to rally and deliver thrilling comeback victories, O'Malley also pointed to a persistent issue: Oliveira's tendency to take clean shots. In his view, Topuria is not the type to let such openings pass without consequences, which adds a dangerous layer to the matchup.
Could I get your read on how Topuria versus Oliveira plays out?
Man, that's one where your heart's telling you, Charles, and your brain's telling you Ilia. It's just that one's a coin flip. Can't count Charles out. Ilia's on an absolute tear. Charles does get hit and Ilia cracks. That fight I am very excited for.
Adam Catterall brought up a similar point, questioning whether Topuria's chin could hold up under pressure from a bigger, more experienced Oliveira. He mentioned that if someone like Jai Herbert could hurt Topuria, Oliveira, who's known for his aggression and physical presence, could do even more damage. At the same time, Catterall emphasized Oliveira's fearlessness and the deep belief system that fuels his performances. He called attention to Oliveira's ability to push the pace and force uncomfortable exchanges, raising doubts about whether Topuria is ready for that level of pressure and unpredictability.
It's interesting to
hear you say what you've just said there. Because, listen, it's a close fight because Charles Oliveira is the former champion. He has got record after record after record on his ledger. He's been there, done it, and got the t-shirt. And he is the naturally bigger guy coming into this particular fight. And there are things that go against Ilia Topuria. Let's talk about the things that go against Ilia Topuria coming into this, right? He has fought at 155 before, and he did it in London, didn't he, against Jai Herbert? We saw that fight ourselves. And if Jai Herbert can drop Ilia Topuria, you better back your bottom dollar that Charles Oliveira can do it. However, this is my take on it. Charles Oliveira, in order to be so amazing and become the fans' favourite, is a reckless fighter. That's what makes him so exciting. He is reckless. He is willing to take shots in order to dish shots out. He's willing to put himself in compromising positions in order to get the submissions. He's willing to do all of those things in order to become successful. And 9 times out of 10 recently, not earlier on in his career when he was a 145er, but now he is absolutely excelling in those types of exchanges, mainly because of a belief system that he's got in his own ability.
Yeah.
Can you be that reckless with a man that very rarely presents an opportunity?
Regardless of the outcome, one thing is certain. UFC 317's main event between Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria promises fireworks from the opening bell. Both men are walking forward, and neither plans on taking a step back.